So I want to discuss something today because I did a clip yesterday and I was just so furiously pissed. And so the whole clip is just me like, F this, F that. I mean, it's just me really pissed off. And I think I'm even more pissed off right now. But all men are rapists and they all groom little girls. And so some girls went and raped some men or some other, combo of things. It was men. And so I'm going to point out some things and I'm going to back up my argument with that. Explain this bullshit. They made my life a living fucking hell in this time period that they're talking about, Russell's thing. I'm not going to let people run off and say they didn't know anything. That's ridiculous. Because that stuff was all over the television. And not only that, okay, so this was around the start of Twitter. So a lot of people were still like on MySpace and they were branching out to that trashy Facebook that felt the need to out victims' private information and things. And I was actually pointing it out. And then there was a time where I was on Twitter there in that early portion where I quit Twitter myself. I just deleted my account for like 6 months. And, you guys all know I'm a big fan of, Mike Patton and all them. Okay, so now I have been a fan of all these guys, the ones that are problems since a kid, or at least, around my teen years there, right? So, you kind of get in this thing, it's like a mass grooming, okay? And I didn't go to therapy until like the 2010-11 portion for this thing here, with the grooming of the Renfield, that shit right there. So there was a lot of things that I still hadn't properly identifies like, oh, this is also rape. Hello. Which is kind of odd though, because in the early portion, in the 2001 portion, I had reported the human trafficking ring, and it wasn't me that was okay with that conduct because I'm obviously reporting it. It was everybody else who's fine with rape. Okay, this is a different thing. It's not a thing they didn't know. They were actually fine with the conduct that I told them. So it's not me, it is them. So in the middle of this, I guess, Mike and all them were jumping into the crowd and raping people's faces. And, he had a bad drinking problem. And I noticed it, I don't know, just at some point a little later than that. But, yeah, and then he spit in the camera. And I had to be reminded of this because Marilyn Manson just had a case like that. And I go, he's not alone. Because he really isn't. I mean, somebody else did that too, but I think on the other one, which is what I was actually looking for, I think that was a staged thing, but I can't find it, and I don't know exactly who did it. I'm thinking it was Alice and them, but, I don't know. Um, but no, Mike has done that stuff too, and so I was like, well, I think the only degree of difference is one person's getting busted and the other isn't. And the person that's actually getting busted, it's actually doing you some good because you're actually going to think twice about your actions, though he still does these things, because they all have like ASPD. They think it's funny though. They think it's funny. But then also at that time, a little later, somebody made a comment on a interview that wasn't too good, and it was more of like, I'll put it this way. So if you know Woody Allen, so if you're one of those that goes, oh, what's wrong with working with Woody Allen, even knowing that he was a pedophile? So that's kind of a flag to some things. And I actually didn't go off on it for a long time. This was like a later thing. And actually prior to that, I had gone to a show and I didn't know these guys were making these comments, but they were joking around having little teens go to the show. And I was like, oh, I don't even know if I even heard that. It's possible if I did, it went over my head, but I'm pretty sure I would have been irked because I was getting really fucking pissed at this point in time. Because not only is everybody in the industry bullying me, But I'm right. Okay, so I'm sitting there going, you're a bunch of rapists and they raped me. They did this. And it's not the thing of belief. I keep stressing this. It's not belief. The truth is they're rapists and they want to okay their conduct. And what were they arguing with me actually on Twitter at the moment that this damn Russell shit was going on? And this is every political stance. It's not a political fucking thing at all. And this is where Sink came in, and he was like, he knew, he was very aware that all these little boys are getting raped by their father. And I'm just sitting there like, this is news to me. And he's like, that would be ridiculous to call that rape, because then they would have to consider everybody raped. And it's like, yeah, you would, you idiot. And then they were parading at the same time to lower the AOC, the age of consent, to even 12. I was on Twitter and these guys were arguing with me. It was so gross. This is the thing. They wouldn't even have cared if some 16-year-old got raped. They were talking to me like I somehow was in a relationship with my perp and somehow he was like my boyfriend. I was like, that's not what happened at all. This is a stranger danger. I didn't know that guy at all. So they were also treating it like that and then going statutory rape. So the term statutory rape does not mean rape to anybody. To them, the idea of that word means I wanted it and I was dating him and it's just against the law. That's not what happened here at all. And then I was talking about the later grooming. So I knew I was groomed. So I was actually trying to educate people on grooming, but I couldn't, there was no topic on it, mostly into adulthood. So LAPD's over here jerking off to that shit. And considering that consent and other things like that. So they were okaying all the conduct of all these men, and LAPD was raping women. And they were so what they were doing is actually trying to do a mass manipulation to call women liars when in reality they knew they were rapists. It's like any serial killer, or anybody that's trying to manipulate a mass group of people. It's a gaslight, the manipulation and the gaslight, right? So they start making up all the shit. Well, I remember this time pretty damn good because they were sitting there trying to okay men on little kids. And this was their arguments all over Twitter during this Russell thing. And I was having a hard time. And these men were having so much sadistic fun bullying me and talking to me like this. Women start their period at 12, so that's the age when we should be able to basically rape you. This is what they were saying. So they were actually trying to argue to lower the fucking age of consent to that. But as you see, Russell's doing that, right? It's tame at the time period. So you'll also hear these trash rapist men argue, oh, don't come after me from 20 years ago. Well, there's a reason why they don't want you to, because they were pro-rape then. And in fact, if you wanted to spend time on any of these son of a bitches, go back to each of their accounts from this time period of Russell Brand. It's not going to be good. You could out every single one of these fucking pro-rapist motherfuckers, because the whole time they're watching it, you're watching rape, okay? You're watching him rape people on camera. And this action that we're watching right now is an action that they were saying is not rape. It's you. You're rapists. They're all rapists. So they're protecting their own self. And so how do they do that? They gang up as a bully and do a lynch mob on fucking all women and other victims, right? Because in addition to this, Bill Maher, who's a fucking idiot, was actually promoting that little boys can't be raped, right? So all the little boys that got and that creates serial killers, holy shit, and serial rapists, right? You will see this connection between Russell getting raped as a kid to him going after children. I think the most disturbing thing in this whole thing, beyond what we're watching, is finding paparazzi photos of him holding little girls, okay? That's a little Nygaard-ish thing going on right there. And his hands are all over their butts. I'm like, to me, they're victims. I don't know who would hand a fucking kid to Russell. Just even generally when you're watching it. This was my issue why I had to out some shit. And I'm not going to stand behind this fucking conduct with people making excuses why they didn't do shit. Because even with the Alice camp, I was like, sorry, if I have to out a victim there, I'm going to out a fucking victim there so somebody doesn't touch a kid. And that's exactly what happened. So then they go and target me and shit. It's like, no, fuck that. See, you knew, and Russell's holding little kids. Russell even said he didn't care about age. All these guys were saying shit like that. Age is but a number. But see, little girls are groomed. We were groomed very young by all these men. They're all rapists. The country is founded on rape. And so boys are barely coming out going, shit, man, that shit, you know, blah, blah. But here's the truth of it. In this time period, what fucking male called the cops? They have flipped this thing all on us. But yet, I'm watching him, he's touching some men. I'm like, hey, men, why didn't you call the fucking cops, you assholes? But those will be the same ones that say that shit to me. I was like, the cops were here the whole time. The cops knew. The cops are rapists. I'm telling you, the cops are all raping people. What are you fucking going on about? Then we had another rape in 2005. It was just a few years before this thing, right? But he was raping. The stories in this go before that, right? What happened again? People targeting me, people bullying me, the industry. I mean, this is the industry itself. And they fucking pushed me out of an industry that I started in as a kid. And so it wasn't a thing that I could just go around and go do something. They were destroying everything I was doing. YouTube platform wanted to target me. And this is before they started targeting all this other shit, right? But they were letting rapist men go on their platform and spew out vile hate speech about women and about pro-raping them and saying, no, you're a bunch of liars, ladies. And they were just covering up that they're rapists, you guys. And the platform empowered them so much, they got to be on the top tier. So that's the typical white male supremacist thing to do. And then they didn't pay me. This was just insane. There was a whole thing going on right here. Facebook, outs my name. Another who was it? Blabbermouth. Okay, they started censoring me. And if anybody knows anything about Blabbermouth, it is like a free-for-all. I mean, maybe it's similar to like that hip-hop one. What's it called? It's totally went out of my brain. Anyway, there's another website where those people go to fucking town on there. Okay, so it was like that. Why would I be getting censored in a group of dickwads like that, right? So they started censoring me. And this is before they started doing any of this stuff with anybody. So then Twitter had their thing where they're just like, go ahead, you know, it's a debate. You have to debate, lady. Okay, this is the typical Christian atheist guy. Because we're going to just call them what they are. They're Christian atheists. Believe it or not, they're Christian atheists. Okay, so those son of a bitches want to argue. They're like, you need to have a proper debate with me. You know, I mean, don't get upset. Why are you getting upset? You know, 12-year-olds should be a rational discussion. Like they're talking about, you should okay that I rape you. Basically. So they were going on like this. And then the drunk fucking atheist, I believe it might be the more bigger guys on the YouTube. Yeah, they were being dickwads too and calling women liars and that most of us lie and that we're not rapists. And yet I can guarantee you if you go in their shit, they're the rapists. So I was showing the argument of these two rapists talking to each other and covering for each other to show you that dynamic. So you have a mass group of rapists covering their own asses because they want to okay just jumping in a crowd and smacking their face on some guy. Like, I'm totally down with some guy kissing each other, but dude, they better be fucking consensual. It's just showing me, oh God, that guy's a rapist. That guy was pissed though. I just saw it last night. I'm like, that guy was mad. I was like, did I see this before? If I did, it was a total overlook. And that actually happened before I went into my victim of crime thing, yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if I watched it and I was like, oh, nothing. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't. Mostly on the men and men thing, because it wasn't a female. It was him doing it on a male. Uh-huh. And so anytime I'm talking about this stuff, they're just freaking out. They're just like, oh my God, we're going to go, try to cover the subject. I don't know. They're going to cancel me. That's what they're making fun of it. They're not taking any of their conduct seriously. They don't see the problem, the damages that they've done. They were part of mass grooming. So there's a mass grooming going on. This was okayed. Yeah. Uh-huh. So it's not a thing of, oh, nobody knew. I'm watching a million clips and that dude's raping everybody on camera. Like fucking Anthony Kiedis. Let me pull this up because I actually tried yesterday. I was so mad and I was like, oh my God. And then I forgot to do it. And then I went on a whole other thing. And so we're gonna focus in here. Focus. I was like, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard for me because I was like, yeah, it's reminding me of that Uma Thurman thing where she was so fucking pissed and she's like, I'm not going to say anything right now because, I'm going to say some shit. Like, fucking, this thing. I go, yeah, that's how I've been feeling, actually. That's been my internal thing about this. Mostly when it's people that you have some higher opinions of and they're being rapists. Yes. And it's like, how do you want to approach it? Because they think it's funny. They don't see the wrong of it, and so they will resort to bullying me to okay their conduct. Yeah. That's just anybody. It's not like any general specific either, but that's just what I'm saying. Did they call out their friends? Did any of the other band members, tell their buddy to stop? And it's not a thing that none of the other band members didn't see. Hate Faith no more. Yeah, and when I saw them, I didn't see any of that other than him throwing his fucking ass out into the crowd and he was drunk. But he gets violent. Okay, so, let's see. I mean, he's not, I'm saying Maryland's not alone. He really isn't. Like, I don't want to do this, like, fucking pick on him fest alone, because he is not alone. He is alone in getting busted. But I don't think it's fair that he should be the only one. You know what I mean? He needs to have some friends. But let's see. Now, I don't know of any other conduct. So the thing is that when you see stuff like that, it's usually going to open a gate of there's a lot of bad shit. Yeah. And I just didn't like the lie that was put out where they were trying to say that they just got a drinking problem in the middle of COVID. I'm like, oh, hell no. I go, what the hell is going on here? I was like, no, I was pointing it out because my father drank a lot. And I was like, I'm noticing that this dude's got a major problem. I was like, because you don't want that to happen, though, dude, you guys. I mean, it's like a general care thing. I was like, oh my God, he's reminding me of my dad. What is going on here? Like, I said that. Now, I don't know if any of those comments, caught wind to some of those people and they just want to be shitty. Like, I don't know. I really don't. But, that statement was inaccurate. I'm just pointing that out. So then when you start seeing things like that, it's just kind of like, as somebody trying to cover up, they just said that Russell, tried to cover it for 4 years. And I was like, I don't know if that's going to be like the try to be a Kevin Spacey excuse, I had a drinking problem, so I was raping this guy's face, and punching people out. That's why I was being the shitty. Yeah. I was saying it's funny because my issue with Anthony Kiedis has to do with him touching and being just like Russell, right? And I was like, yeah, their issue with them has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with some other bullshit of Anthony being a shit fuck. But apparently, I guess they weren't mad at any of that. Yeah, because what man, was like, let's call the cops on the guy. You're literally taping it, okay, guys? They are taping this conduct of a guy trying to rape and molest a woman on fucking camera. And everybody's viewing it. I said they're watching rape. They're rapists, you guys. Because if you don't see any wrong in that, you're a fucking rapist. See, there it is. We could back this up. I'm a victim. I literally know. I know at the time when I'm groomed, certain things that I would pass off as being okay because some guy be doing it to me. You know what I mean? I wasn't okay with most of this though. But there's some things where it's like I'm seeing it and I may just minimize it to, you know, they all do that. You know, I might do that thing. But to come out now and act like, no, you never saw it, and that's not rape. That's pretty rich. That's bullshit. That's a lot of bullshit there. And yeah, Russell here is holding some kids. That shit right there. I wasn't even looking for that. I was actually trying to show. We're looking at the parents to see who passed on that gene of being fucking loony looking right in the eye. Somebody else brought it up. It wasn't even me. I'm like, I don't even want to talk about Anthony right now. Well, somebody wanted to start a thread on Reddit. Okay. So now we have Glenn, the defender of rapist. Let's see what he says. I gave him a little comment, but we've been through this before. Why are you crusading for some man, Glenn? You're crusading for yourself. So what did you do? Who did you rape? All these thoughts stem from people supposedly reading AK's book. But evidently, no, actually I was watching videos and I'm watching him like a Russell Brand raping women all on fucking TV. And I was reading women's accounts on the conduct that he did with other women in the industry. The book is just an addition. So it says only absorbing one paragraph of information from the whole thing. Well, you're a fucking rapist. I don't know what the fuck, dude. And that paragraph is enough to just show that he's a fucking rapist. So why are you defending it? Because you're a rapist. That's the conclusion. Anthony's relationship behavior with younger women, no, with children. They're not women. They're children. Wording, asshole. Is something he they keep doing this, up-aging of little girls to women. No, it's a girl. Is something he clearly learned from his father. Yes, and that's why they go to prison. So that's the story they have to tell a judge to see if there's any leniency as to the reason why you did it. That doesn't matter. You still did it, right? The excuses as to why you did it doesn't matter. The conduct that he did is what matters. So that's my gender. We're not objects, but as we see that you completely disregard us as a human in your conversation here. Okay, we don't matter. You're actually talking from the viewpoint, making excuses for a child predator. The same father who provided an environment where sexuality and drug use was to be explored at a young age. Yeah, and he should have been in jail, right? But that's what you're promoting out here, and that's why we got to Russell Brand. But that's not our fault because his dad did that to him, that he goes and he rapes us, right? No, that's not an excuse. I mean, it's not a get out of a free pass because you're a white boy and privileged that your dad's a piece of shit, that you should be able to go and rape our fucking gender and treat us like trash, you asshole. But this is your argument. So I already know how you are in real life, because if you're making excuses for it here, I hope to God you don't have any daughters because they're going to get raped. Okay. So, and you're not going to call the cops on him, just like my father didn't call the cops on anybody, apparently. So, yeah. This is why this is going on. You're all rapists. You're literally defending a pedophile. But let's see. And no, I don't want the argument about the age thing, about it not technically being one. No, we're not going there. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and he orchestrated his son's first proper encounters with such things. Yes, he was raped, and that's why he became a rapist. That's the actual conclusion of that. So his father got him raped, and Anthony was a rapist, and he was abused terribly, and then so he therefore abused our gender. So he should have been held accountable and put to jail for the conduct that he did there, yes. And he's a sociopath. The fact that he's dating younger women, no, children, than him stems from that, and he was taught that it's okay to do so. Well, at a point when you're an adult, you know the laws, right? You learn the laws, right, Glenn? That in like the state of California, for example, like when you're adult, you don't go through the world thinking, okay, we ignore the laws and we're only going by what my dad said. That's not how it works. So you learn what the laws are. Like you can't go raping kids. So you're trying to argue that he's a dumbass and didn't know the laws. And then so that's why he did that. That's not what happened here, you asshole. He is a sociopath. And so what happens is he says, fuck the laws. And he goes and he does harm to everyone else, right? Everyone should know that you can't just run up to people and go and just smack your fucking mouth on them, right? Because that's a rapist action. Because that is not your body to do that. And that's unfortunately what every man did to me. And that's why it was a human trafficking ring, right? Because there's no, this is unreal. But every man is a rapist because every man was defending just like this. And every man did that. And anytime they get caught, this is the white boy excuse right here. Making excuses for them because you're a fucking dumbass fan. Unfortunately, I have to call out somebody that I'm a fan of, and it's in a place that just, and there's been several. Marilyn's one of them. I mean, but I wasn't like this huge hardcore fan of him, but I was always a fan of him, and I could still confront it, right? I'm not happy about it, no. And then we have Eminem over there, and we know he's the little socio, so, you know, but we got the story of that thing over there. And he needs to work on his fucking self. But I didn't see all this other stuff, such as this one from somebody else that I was actually a much bigger fan of, for a much longer time than anybody else, really. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't like to be bullied, and the truth is I'm getting bullied by the ASPD fucking clan. The people that have done this. And you're going to bully me too because you want to defend another ASPD asshole. And you must be too because this is something that you're looking at going, I'm going to make excuses for him. Oh, that poor white boy. He didn't know the laws. He didn't know the laws at all. So he started just doing that. You know, he's just a poor fucking helpless motherfucker. Anyway, so that's what they were doing. So it says Anthony's childhood was a lot of people today would class as an abusive one. So is yours, because why would you defend this? But because AK doesn't view it as such, he doesn't view it as such. He doesn't, but father embraces it and adored his father. It gets glossed over. He's a sociopath. That's the thing about it. And he'll never have that, empathy for our gender ever because it wasn't developed. Do you understand that? That's why half these guys continually go in and out of prison. But for some reason, because Anthony's a famous rock star, he gets the special treatment. That's the only difference. Because if he was on the street and he's running around fucking raping all these kids, nobody would really be looking at him in this way. You wouldn't be defending him. You would be going, that sick bastard. And then, but, you know, actually maybe you would because you're defending him now. So all I said is that does not excuse any behavior of his. He harmed our gender with no consequences. And everyone has an excuse, and it's never a good one to be had by a socio. And every story of men in prison, it's not a get out free card because your dad was garbage. My dad was garbage. So you should pity me if I go and start raping a shitload of men, and you should feel bad for me, you know, because I didn't know the laws. Like, you know, there's a whole thing with that, right? It's actually showing that he did not develop empathy towards anyone, and so he will do destructive conduct to anybody, and he'll harm everybody, right? And what he does is he'll look at a law and go, I don't really fucking care what's happening, and you're defending it. Fuck you, Glenn. And that's what I wanted to pull up because that was so annoying. They brought that up because of Russell Brand, because it was said, they're like, hey, Anthony did this too on camera. I go, yeah, and a long before of Russell Brand, I believe. Yeah, because he came out in the 80s, right? Yeah, so he was raping women on camera, but people didn't want to call it rape. I'm like, dude, the dude like literally got all on top of that girl. against her will. So everybody's condoning it. Everybody's groomed. All men did this, right? They didn't care about us as a human, right? And it's almost like they were bragging. They're like, hi, I'm the biggest rapist. Hey, ladies. And what they're doing is they're bragging to their guy friends. They're like, hey, dude, I rape more women than you. And they're like, I rape more women than you. That's the grooming thing. So yeah, then they got him raped as a kid. Now, I tried to actually look up where that came from. I don't know. There were some things trying to point out everything's to Whitey, but it's actually not. There's some things that go way back into the history, and I'm like, I have fucking no clue where that came from. Now, it may be that white men started that rape into male supremacy thing. It's like a gang, right? Like into the cult. We had to rape our sons into the cult of male supremacy. I'm like, well, where the fuck did that start? Because I don't know. Does anybody know? Because there may be some people that are more educated on the history of where that came from. And I'm like, I tried to look for it, and all I saw was something about the virginity thing, but that shit goes way back into history, and it's not like white specific, I don't think, but it could be. But it would go way, 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 way back before America, BC something, something. So I don't know where it came from, but all the men knew it. And their fathers were getting them all raped, and that probably included you. So because if Saint was talking about it, he was saying it's absurd. It is absurd. I'm pretty damn sure it was him. I just don't know where this conversation is at. I pulled up a lot of the other ones, and I believe they possibly removed the video where they were all asking for the age of consent to go way lower because they were all raped, basically, but they called it sex, right? They're like, oh, we all had sex before the age of like 12. I don't know. They were doing this whole thing, and I was freaking the fuck out. I was like, these guys are insane. I was expecting it from the Christian cult over there. But this was on the Young Turks. And then they had the asshole, like, Kyle was being such a dickwad. You know what I mean? Like, in this thing, because he's a total male supremacist. But he's like, well, I don't understand why you would call me that. You know, like, he was doing this shit. I was like, yeah, I mean, basically, you're just a Christian atheist. Like, they don't get it. Why would you be a Christian atheist? Because you were born into a Christian pedo nation is why you would be a fucking Christian atheist. But I was joking. I go, how fucking Christian of you. Like, you didn't get it. Those people didn't get it. They still don't get it because they're a bunch of morons. But they were enjoying. Here's the other thing. They were enjoying calling us liars. It's not even a thing like, I just don't believe you. No, it's like a very vindictive thing. And the truth in below that isn't that they believe you're lying. They think you are dirt shit. You don't matter. You don't matter at all. And for any of those people to say that they feel love ever for anything, it's just a manipulative lie. So that's why we're really tackling this PD. That PD is coming out because of what you said with the Anthony's dad. Yes. That's why Maryland's the way he is. That's why Johnny Depp's the way he is. So we're actually explaining it. And they all have the same thing that happened, right? They're not okay people. Fucking Maryland's older than me, and he's still going in and out of jail. He's a socio. So is Depp. He thinks it's fucking funny. He's another one. He doesn't care. Like, the laws, if he got thrown in jail, it just would have been like, whatever, you know, if I lost this shit, at least I did this. Unlike some other people. But, yeah, that's the problem. And so, no, it's not a thing where people were totally out of the loop of Russell. I think that was the issue with the Harvey thing, too, where I just didn't get it at the time when, you know, there was Rose and a bunch of other people really angry. I was trying to get, like, what's going on because, like, okay, so my perspective at the time, because I worked with Harvey, right? And maybe that's another thing, because I was mentioning things. I was like, oh, yeah, I worked on this set, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even know it was Harvey. And people were probably listening to it thinking, oh, she fucking knows it. You know, I don't know. And I have no idea, right? Because I'm totally, like, clueless. And then, but I actually never heard any rumors about that. Like, I just legitimately never did. And so then, like, when this came out, I was thinking, like, oh, well, maybe some people legitimately didn't hear about these things. And then it turned into oh no, these people were totally friends with them and they're trying to fucking cover their asses. And I go, and I was like, well, I don't know. You know, I was trying to like grasp this. And I go, now I can grasp it. I was like, oh, the people that were hanging out with them were totally fine with rape and they didn't see any problem with that shit. Okay, yeah. I would be fuming pissed because I'm pissed right now. Like, it kind of came together where I was like, it's hard for me to go there because I don't know. I just didn't experience like what I'm experiencing right now. And I'm feeling Uma. I'm feeling Uma right now. I am feeling that woman. It's funny. She always comes up in our show because the Kill Bill thing. But anyway, yes, that's the thing. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, what do I want to say about this? Because I am really mad. And when I get mad, it just comes out, okay? It comes out. It comes flying out like a motherfucker. And it's just like, and I think it's different when it's somebody that maybe you respect them or you know, whatever, or, you know, it's just part of, you know, something like that. It is much easier for me to go trash some fucking guy that I don't give a shit about. It's like, because I don't care about you. There's no emotional attachment there, right? So it's kind of like my whole childhood just like went up in smoke. Because there wasn't that much left of it. Because everybody's a piece of shit that I, you know, grew up, you know, just a lot of things to that. It's a not a wonderful feeling. But then also when you look at it, like, these people don't respect me at all. And I literally help support like so many musicians, like growing up. You buy their shit, you go to their shows. And these son of a bitches are middle fingering me. That's another portion of it, and it's quite depressing. And I was like, I didn't deserve anything that ever happened to me. But it did expose that they were all rapists, yeah. In some way, yeah. I mean, they would be, because they none of them cared about consent, and they didn't care about us as human beings on planet Earth. Otherwise, they would have done a lot to help women help women not have this happen in the industry. It's like the minute you heard that this team over here did this shit to me is the minute that everybody should have been on top of it. But I went to authorities. I gave a lot of that information, and they were trying to toss it off. Like, they didn't want it in their hands. It was more like that. Like, they got the information. They're like, oh, you got to take that somewhere else. I was like, excuse me? It goes along with the other stories that I gave you. So it was a long-stemmed info thing that I've been talking about. But government here is a bunch of rapists. And so is the human trafficking hotline, which should be shut the fuck down. I would actually demand an investigation and what they did with all the information that I gave them in regards to all these men. This is very serious, and I've been saying it. So how did this TV thing come? Okay, so Russell's only one of like a bazillion people that have been acting like that. But the truth is, okay, at the beginning that they pulled this video out of him all over the co-host of The View was the exact same time that Whoopi Goldberg said that's not rape. And so I was on Twitter dragging her to hell for saying that. So I was on top of the topic for sure. But she could sit there and watch somebody being raped in front of her, and she's just like, that's totally consensual right in front of me. But the co-host didn't initiate that. They're missing the whole thing. And Barbara Walters is like victim blaming her, like, it looks like you're enjoying that. It's like the guy just started up doing that shit to her. And then they're supposed to protect her, and Barbara's over here enabling it, okay? Or she's jealous and is mad because he's not all over her raping her. Then the guy that he did it to on HuffPost, and they kind of thought it was hilarious. I'm like, the dude literally just got raped, and I'm uncomfortable watching this right now. Like, you're not seeing rape as rape, or you're just into rape, because the dude's like not fucking having this guy go and open his shirt up and go for his nipple. That's a sexual assault. And so that's what I was saying. I go, LAPD okayed all that conduct at us at our job. So when the guys were trying to go down our tops and then grabbed our tits, they were like, that's totally fine and you asked for it. They were running a human trafficking ring. And LAPD was all part of it, along with the sheriff. So that's what they were doing to girls. And nobody was okaying it. It was just men doing it because they're all rapists. I already know they're all rapists. Why would parents have to sit there and say, be careful and whatever about men? Because they're all rapists. Why are they all rapists? Well, I've been going through that, why they're all rapists, right? You just told us about Anthony Kiedis' childhood. Yes, they're all rapists because of things like that. There's a mass grooming going on because of the fucking church. Now, I don't think the church started at rape a son. That would be underground from the church. So the church, here's the thing about the church. They're pro-rape, okay? They are absolutely pro-rape through and through. But the way that they do their rape, I'm like, the way that they do their rapes, they're for raping children, but they want the men to go rape the girl first, and then they'll force marry you, right? So that's the manipulation there. So they don't get in trouble for rape, right? So they force you to get married to your rapist. So the man basically goes, I want that little girl over there. So as long as he goes and he rapes her, then they can get forced to be married. So they're for rape, but they want them to be married. So that's kind of their thing. But I don't know where it would come up where they go, I need to get my son's rape outside of wedlock. That's a different thing. So, I guess maybe it just stemmed out of the male supremacist portion, just generally, maybe, where it's like, us being able to rape all these girls, and something. Whoever knows about that, please let me know, because that one, I don't know. It's disgusting. We have to rape little boys. We gotta get our sons raped. Okay, so Michael Jackson's dad did that too. They were Jehovah's Witnesses or something. So yeah, they had to get their sons raped. Now that's not shit. I don't think that's in the Bible. I would that one I don't know. I don't see how it would be, but it could be in some sort of weird way. Anyways, I'm going to end right now because I'm really pissy right now. I was like, because I feel like I'm just going to go on this other thing. I just wanted to bring that up because I don't want to hear their excuses anymore. Even with the Ashton Kutcher thing, the fucking, all that shit, because they were all rapists. They're all rapists, you guys. That's why they were trying to defend all that and spin stories and create conspiracies, which is just another version of a gaslight manipulation. So that this is it. They're just trying to cover their own shit. They want to be rapists. They want to stay rapists, and they can go get fucked. I mean, that I'm not supporting people that don't support our gender. Like, that's just. But in this, there's male victims. That was the other thing. I go, yeah, the guys got raped up in here. The guy that the dude kissed there is a male. So I was like, yeah, he was mad though. But maybe that came out, there'd be a lot more men going, yeah, Mike fondled me, fucking, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I can't condone it. I would be the biggest hypocrite ever. But yeah, that was weird. I don't recall seeing, shit. I was just like, I pulled it up last night. I was like, oh my God, wait, did I see this? It's possible, but right now I don't recall it. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, could be a lot of people. And the men wouldn't come out at that time to say, Mike molested me in the fucking crowd, and, it's a mess, you guys. It's a hot mess.